Session. Now we're moving into the board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units. It's now called to order. Earlier today, the Committee on Operations met in public session. The Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management and the Committee on Operations also met jointly in public session. Their reports will be filed with the official minutes of today's board meeting. The Commissioners also met in executive earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts or proposals, matters related to the purchase or sale or lease of real property, where disclosure would affect the value thereof or the public interest, and the matters related to personnel and personnel procedures. At this moment, I would ask everyone to either stand or for a moment of silence with regard to the observance of the upcoming 26th anniversary of the first terrorist attack on World Trade Center, and in memory of the 6 victims, including 4 Port Authority officers who perished February 26, 1993. Thank you. At this time, we request to hear from our Executive Director, Rick Cotton, provide his report. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This morning, I want to touch briefly on our operating results from 2018, touch briefly on our capital project agenda, and on our customer experience initiatives, and finally comment on our new employer of choice priority. Our operating volumes in 2018. Based on the final 2018 figures, our facilities handled record and near-record passenger and cargo volumes in 2018. Given that our airports regularly broke passenger volumes month after month in 2018, it is probably no surprise that the airport system as a whole in the full year of 2018 handled a record 137.9 million passengers. JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia all individually broke all-time annual passenger records. At our port, the Port of New York and New Jersey handled more than 7 million TEUs for the first time in its history. The port also set a new all-time cargo record for cargo handled by rail, moving 645,000 containers, up by 13.8% over 2017, a very impressive performance. At PATH handled nearly 82 million passengers, which was the second highest annual ridership on record, but the 2018 numbers would have been a new record had it not been for the anomaly of the 1.2 million New Jersey Transit ticket holders who were cross-honored during the summer of 2017, during the summer of hell at New York Penn Station. At our Hudson River crossings, after opening its second span this summer, the Goethals Bridge has immediately demonstrated its higher capacity and established a new annual record for passenger traffic, reporting more than 16.5 million eastbound crossings in 2018, nearly a 5% increase over 2017, and that was achieved with the new bridge only having been open for half of the year. Across all our crossings, we reached a record E-ZPass participation rate with nearly 87% of all tolls being paid with E-ZPass. In addition to these record operating results, we continue to advance our capital projects. 2 projects, one at the new Bayonne Bridge and one at JFK Airport, hit important milestones just in the last 10 days. On Monday, 3 days ago, the agency opened the new southbound lanes of the main span of the Bayonne Bridge to traffic, which means there are now 2 12-foot lanes of traffic in each direction on the main span of the roadway. This new bridge configuration should reduce delays and improve traffic safety, and we are on schedule to have the bridge's approach ramps and the pedestrian and bike path open this spring. Turning to our airport redevelopment agenda, last week, as you have heard from Derek Utter, we announced that American Airlines, in partnership with British Airways, will be investing an incremental $344 million to expand and enhance JFK's Terminal 8. And this major deal, as Derek noted, is a key further strategic advance of the JFK redevelopment agenda and gives us added momentum at that airport. So as we enter the new year, I would remind the board that over the last 9 months, the agency has fully opened the new Goethals Bridge last spring, broke ground on the new Terminal 1 at Newark Airport in September, In October, announced the $13 billion new JFK redevelopment plan. Also in October, opened the first phase of the Path Harrison Station. In December, completed and opened the first new concourse at LaGuardia Airport, and completed at the end of the year a key strategic expansion of railroad capacity at the port. Now, in the last 10 days, as I've said, the Bayonne Bridge main span opening and the American Airlines British Airways deal at JFK demonstrate even further momentum. We will continue to deliver in 2019. In addition to handling record operating volumes and advancing our capital plan projects, the agency is also focused on advancing our agenda to improve customer experience at all of our facilities. First, I would take note and emphasize and congratulate TB&T, as Diane Eller has described, that during the process or during the time that we're planning and building a new bus terminal, the effort at today's bus terminal to improve our customers' experience in the existing building continues apace. The quality of commute's first phase was well conceived, and as she outlined, we intend to continue this customer experience focus until we can bring the replacement terminal online. In addition to that effort, other key aspects of our customer experience agenda hit key milestones since our last meeting. At PATH, next train countdown clocks informing customers when the next train will arrive are now live in 11 of 13 PATH stations, and with countdown clocks at the final 2 stations to be activated by the end of this month. Earlier this month, we released an updated version of the RidePath mobile app that now allows PATH riders to access on their smartphones the same real-time updates on the next arriving train that are displayed on in-station countdown clocks. RidePath, by the way, which was initially released last year, has been downloaded by more than 70,000 users. That in itself is a further important milestone. At our airports, passengers at JFK, Newark, LaGuardia, and Stewart airports can now access on their smartphones and on each airport's mobile-friendly website real-time security and taxi line wait times. That information has never before been easily available to our customers. And this applies to every security line and every taxi line at our airports, with the exception of the United terminal at Newark, and we are hopeful that United will get its system activated in the near future. This real-time data also allows the airports to identify where excessive wait times are developing and to reallocate resources to address issues as they develop. In terms of at-your-gate food delivery at the airport, earlier this year, JFK, Newark, and LaGuardia became the first airports on the East Coast to offer this service. And this service is now available right now at 4 terminals, and we're working on getting it to all terminals by the middle of this year. At the tunnels and bridges, 2 weeks ago, we announced the Port Authority's partnership with Waze to install and activate geolocation beacons in both the Holland and Lincoln tunnels, as well as the cooperation between Waze and the MTA at the MTA tunnels. These beacons offer drivers who use Waze far superior tunnel navigation where GPS signals would otherwise drop out. The beacon technology is not restricted to Waze's use, and other navigational and ride-sharing applications will be able to pass on the same benefits to their users in the near future. These milestones represent tangible, real-world steps focused on our commitment to improve the customer experience of those who use our facilities. We recognize we still have a long way to go. Believe me, we understand that. But I do hope that as the board and the public see these initial tangible steps move forward, that the agency can gain credibility that we are committed to deliver on our customer experience initiatives and that we mean business. Finally, I want to turn to a subject that I am reporting on, certainly for the benefit of the board and the public, but also for the benefit of employees here in the room and watching on the web. During the 8 town halls with employees that the chairman and I conducted at the end of last year, we heard repeated discussion of important personnel issues from Port Authority employees. To respond to and address these concerns, in January, the chairman and I announced that making the Port Authority an employer of choice would become the sixth priority in the agency's strategic framework. While being an employer of choice has always been a goal of the Port Authority, we have now elevated it with increased focus so that it is a standalone priority alongside our commitment to ensuring safety and security at our facilities, to pursuing capital plan projects, to focusing on customer experience, to operating all of our facilities with excellence, and to advance sustainability. We made two major down payments on this employee focus last year, which I'm sure the board recalls. First, after 12 years of stalemate, we now have in place ratified collective bargaining agreements with the civilian and police unions of the Port Authority's represented workers. We intend to complete that job with the PATH unions as soon as possible. In addition, the board adopted a minimum wage policy that will bring our airport workers' wages to a minimum of $19 an hour within a few years. As we all recognize, this agency cannot deliver on its mission without the dedication and hard work of our employees. We are committed to responding to their concerns as we ask them to embrace change and to deliver on the agency's agenda. To kickstart our focus on this new priority, the chairman and I announced that we would be phasing in 9 new employee-centric initiatives over the next few months, with more to come after that. Those initial 9 are only the beginning. We will be evaluating and implementing further employee-focused initiatives informed by the town hall discussions and the findings of our employee engagement survey. Mr. Chairman, I look forward to a productive 2019, and that concludes my report.
Well, after hearing that long list, I don't know how you're going to beat it in 2019, Rick. I got to tell you, first of all, thank you for the succinct yet comprehensive review of what occurred in 2018. It's as you listen to it, it's kind of like breathless to hear all of the things that have been covered, things that have been planned for a while. And, you know, on behalf of the 7,800 employees that you oversee, you know, job well done. Thank you for your leadership, because it's been an amazing year. And it has been an amazing year, Rick. It really has been. And Rick, one of the brainchilds you had was for us to go, which I wasn't crazy about at first, but having those 8 to 9 town hall meetings to just stand up there and have folks just take like pot shots and ask really tough questions. And I will tell you, that exercise was really an eye-opener, and that was really a wonderful exercise. And the feedback we got from all our employees to have that level of dialogue with us was extraordinary. And I'd like to be repeating that exercise in the future. I think it was so well worth it.
And we will do that, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Any comments or questions from the Executive Director's report? Anyone? Okay, thank you, Rick. Moving along, we'll now provide the public an opportunity to speak on Port Authority matters. The public comment period will be limited to 30 minutes, but I don't think we're going to need all 30 today, Murray, unless you have beyond the average 3 minutes here. This is an opportunity for the public to have a direct voice to the board, speak to us. Members of the public I'm asking to speak about a specific issue. We'll direct you to staff, and we'll follow up on your concerns afterwards. At this time, I want everybody to listen. There's only 2 people who have signed on to speak, and so this portion should last all of 6 minutes. First one, Murray. Welcome.
Rick, you made a very good point about the ways transponders in the tunnels. That's new. That's using the latest technology available. When Governor Cuomo had the L-train tunnel reevaluated, it was supposed to shut down for 15 months completely, and everybody was up in arms, and he had some new people come in there, and they said, hey, wait a minute, you're replacing 100-year-old technology with 100-year-old technology. There's a better way to do it. They figured out how 200,000 people every day would not be inconvenienced. They'd have their normal schedule. Governor Cuomo, in that one item, changed the world. And how does this apply to the Port Authority? Well, You got the George Washington Bridge is a suspension bridge. And what you're doing, and you've already started it, is replacing 100-year-old cables with the same design of 100 years ago. It's essentially doing the same bench that they were going to replace in a tunnel with another bench, but they've decided to put the cables up on a wall, which is the way you do it today. Bridges are being built as cable-stayed bridges. You have the Tappan Zee, the Kosciuszko, and Bayonne. Why did they build cable-stayed bridges? In 1946 is when it started, because after the war there was a shortage of materials and there was a need for speed. This solved both those problems. And the George Washington Bridge, in fact, can be converted to a cable-stayed bridge. Now, all of those wonderful engineers that you've hired to do it, set it up, said, you can't do it. But in fact, every element required to convert it exists. The computing power is there. The analysis is there. The towers can support it. And in 20, 30, 40 years ago, when you have to replace the cables, they're redundant. You can do them one at a time. You don't have to unwrap. Those cables were made with the best technology, and they started to corrode. Today you have rebar. Pat Ray should know about this. Rebar was originally there. It got rusted and it broke the concrete. So they went to green-covered rebar. That broke. Now they're using galvanized rebar. That will break too, because it's encased and not free. I know. Got another 27 minutes to go. So here we are. You're challenged to stop the project and say, can we replace it? This is the new way of thinking. One of the things that Rick said was those new transponders. This is the next step. The second issue I want to bring up today, you and I and your traffic engineers have discussed correcting the lines on a roadway. Your engineer is excellent. He's one of the two best traffic engineers I've ever met. The only problem is they haven't been implemented. Nobody has started to correct it. Well, that's your job. The rules are there. The rules are correct. He knows how to do it. He told me he does. He's excellent, but nothing happens. Now, you've installed those wayfinders in the tunnels. You got that done fast. You got your stations being timed there, but you can't get the lines right. No, you know how to get the lines right. You haven't implemented. That's an entirely different situation. Up until now, I've always presented questions about, why don't you do this? Those are all answered. The answers are there, but it has to change and get it going. Now, I was going to say something. I don't think I'll say it today. I apologize. You know what I was going to say because I wrote it to you. It's your job to see that it gets implemented, because when you implement it here, the Three Musketeers, the governor of New Jersey, the governor of New York, and the governor of Connecticut, you're all working together because this is one economic unit. You're not competing against each other anymore. You're competing against the rest of the world, and you're doing a very good job of it. By the way, personal note, I can hear the loudspeakers in my hearing aids. That's the first time it's been that clear. That's right. That's how your technical staff here is excellent. And I must compliment you. For the first time, I can hear it without anything extra. So the many people that you have here are excellent. It's now doing it what's already known to be done. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity to have and work with you, and to numerous people here who have taught me and supported me, because I couldn't have done this by myself. You've all mentored me in ways that are incredibly good. And from my grandchildren's generation who will benefit by what you've done here, they thank you too.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Weissman.
Chairman O'Toole, Director Cotton, Commissioners, welcome back. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Extended remarks can be found online at completegeorge.org. Supporters. For 6 years, I've had the privilege of appearing before you to argue why the George Washington Bridge paths need to be upgraded. I have also raised public awareness, building a broad coalition of support from across the Port District. Hudson Valley executives who promote tourism to supplement the local economy. Bronx communities for whom cycling infrastructure is a means to bridge transportation deserts. Upper Manhattan residents who seek recreation space and relief from congestion and pollution. Elected officials from Brooklyn and Queens who see the George as an extension of cycling facilities within their own districts. Professional and blue-collar workers from across New York City who've taken up cycling and need access to safe roads and routes west of the Hudson. Bike store owners whose business depends on that access, and bike clubs for whom it is a lifeline. Runners who will avoid the casual chaos of a pedestrian south path to run with cyclists on the north. Hikers and sightseers who don't want to view the city skyline and Palisades from behind bars. Communities near the George who stand to gain tens of millions of dollars per year in tourist spending from a potential High Line on the Hudson, and municipalities from across North Jersey who fear the loss of the rail tunnels without a credible Plan B. What these stakeholders have in common is a need for adequate transportation and recreation, and a shared knowledge that we must transition away from reliance on fossil fuels, and quickly. The agency has stated that it expects its path plan to last for generations. A generation is commonly understood to be 25 years. We don't have generations. We don't have a decade. The Port Authority was designed to be independent from political influence so it could act most efficiently in the public good. You are aware of the benefits and of the unprecedented public support. You have the means and the opportunity to act now. What will it take for these arguments to bear fruit and for these constituents to be served? Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now proceed with the voting of the items for board's consideration today. Each of the respective committee chairs will provide a brief report prior to the matter being considered. Vice Chair Linford, as Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, will now provide the report on an item before the board for consideration.
Thank you, Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, I will now report on an item under the purview of the Joint Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management and Operations. The item, which was presented by our Chief Development Officer at the Joint Committee meeting earlier today, authorizes a lease supplement with American Airlines in furtherance of the John F. Kennedy International Airport redevelopment program. The supplement would provide for the expansion of Terminal 8 concourse and airside improvements by American Airlines and British Airways at their sole cost of approximately $344 million, inclusive of customer service improvements. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
There are no recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I will now request a motion on this item. Thank you. I will now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll. Voting
Chairman.
on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Yes. Commissioner Horwitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Yes. Commissioner McDonald? Yes. Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. Mr. Chairman, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. As Chair of the Committee on Operations, I'll now request a vote on the items that authorize a lease supplement with Federal Express Corporation for its continued operations at Hangar 6 and Building 262 at JFK International Airport for an additional 5-year period at market rates. This supplement also provides for an additional 5-year extension option subject to mutual agreement. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Motion, please. So moved. Second. All those, I'm sorry, roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Yes. Commissioner Horwitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Items approved as presented at the Committee on Operations meeting earlier today. The next item authorizes a lease supplement with FAPS The supplement provides for FAP's continued operation of an import and export automobile processing center at Port Newark. The aggregate rent is approximately $255 million if all 3 5-year extensions are exercised. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Secretary to note any commissioner recusals.
There are no recusals.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Motion, please. Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Item approved. Also presented at the Committee of Operations earlier, the next item authorizes a new 15-year, 3-month lease agreement with Toyota to provide for the continued operation of an import-export automobile processing facility at Port Newark. The aggregate rent is approximately $129 million. Corporate Secretary, note any recusals, please.
There are no recusals.
Commissioners have any questions or comments? Request a motion, please.
So moved.
Hear a second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Items approved. The next item authorizes a lease with the Public Service Electric and Gas Company at Port Newark for the use and occupancy of 34,000 square feet of open air for the operation and maintenance of an upgraded and expanded electrical substation for a 20-year term of an aggregate rent of approximately $2.1 million. Prior to making a motion, I ask the Secretary to note any recusals.
No recusals.
Any comments or questions from the Commissioners? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger? Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Items approved. The next item authorizes a lease with Brooklyn National Deli for 1,200 square feet of space for the operation of a delicatessen on the first floor of the Port Authority Bus Terminal South Wing for a 5-year term at the aggregate rent of approximately $2.2 million. Any recusals, Madam Secretary?
No recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Items approved. The next item authorizes a lease amendment with the Heartland Brewery to provide for a revised lease term as well as revised rental terms tied to the Heartland's operating results. The lease amendment will ensure Heartland Brewery remains in operation through December 31st, 2019, and will allow the time to market and re-let this space. Before making a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any recusals.
No recusals.
Any comments or questions from the Commissioners? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
So moved.
Hear a second. Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Motion is approved. The next item would amend the lease with the Hudson Group Retail to provide an aggregate minimum annual guarantee for all of its leased space at the Port Authority Bus Terminal in lieu of the current space-by-space minimum annual guarantee. In addition, the rents during construction would be reduced by approximately $375,000 to reflect unforeseen conditions during Hudson's tenant improvements. Prior to hearing a motion, I ask the Corporate Secretary to note any recusals.
No recusals.
Any questions or comments from the Commissioners? Hear a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Eve? Commissioner Horowitz? Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino? Commissioner Rosado?
Therefore, everything's in order. Items passes. Any further business? No. I move to adjourn. I need a
So
second.
moved. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Most meetings adjourned. Thank you.